So I'm just going to introduce myself first. So
Yeah.
I am Adrian, and I am here for my career development work experience.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I'm Amanda.
Mhm.
I'm the Community Ministries Director for the Salvation Army here in Neepawa. And we are, and our official title for the building is the Neepawa Ministries, the Neepawa Community Ministry Center.
So what led you to this position? Like,
How did I get to this position?
Yeah.
Whoa, this is a big story. So I've been in this position for, I think it is almost 9 years. It's all starting to blend in. 8.5 years for sure. And basically it's a really great meld of some of my past experiences. So I came to Neepawa in the beginning, 17 years ago, as an economic development officer. And I worked for the Neepawa Area Development Corporation for about 1.5 years, 2 years almost, and was laid off. I then worked for NACTV as a general manager for about 1.5 years. And then I worked for the bargain shop, which is now called Red Apple, as a retail manager there for 5 years. So my background in training is in political science, sociology, and rural development. And so as much as retail management was a lot of fun, I really love impacting people's lives and impacting my community. And that was really what drew me to Neepawa, is that we have a community with so much potential, and that I thought that myself, that what I can bring to this community would help further along it. So when this position came up, Darla Bradley was retiring. I really felt that it was kind of the best of both worlds. So it allowed me to manage a small retail location, which this was not it when I first came. And we were in a, I wonder, the church, that building there is actually the original Citadel. It burnt down in probably, I don't know, I want to say 1820 or something like that. And then they built a smaller little church. That church stood until about 2 years ago, and we ran all of our operations, the whole thrift store and our food bank, out of this tiny little church. And we've been now in this location for 3 years, or this is upcoming 4. I don't know, the days are going by really quick.
Yeah.
2020 was a wash, nobody counts that anymore. So we expanded, and so when I first started, it was a 2-person operation. There was myself and Diana, and we went through and we did all the processing, we merchandised, I worked with clients, and I did food bank, I organized our Christmas hamper program and all that kind of stuff. We still do all of that stuff. I still do all of that stuff. We just now have expanded. We saw the need that there was a definite need to expand the thrift store. And with expanding the thrift store, it allows us to do more things in the community. So our thrift store is a social enterprise, and so all the money and all of the profits that we make out of the thrift store go directly back into running our operations. So it goes into keeping the lights on, paying the mortgage, and paying all of my employees. It also goes to funding all of the programming that we do. So so we don't get any government, we don't get really a lot of government funding unless we've actually applied for it. But this store is what allows us to help over 26 families a month with food, which is what we're at now. So that's about a 30% increase over the last about year. And so we do monthly food hampers for people. We also help out in emergent situations. So if people have had a house fire or are displaced or something like that, we can help them with household items and things out of the thrift store, basically, to get them back on their feet. We also help people who may not have enough money to buy a new winter jacket or winter attire, that sort of stuff. So we will give them those items depending on selection of what we have in the thrift store as well. And we also run our Christmas hamper program. And so typically we see about 130 families that we help out just at Christmas. And so that's above and beyond the Christmas the help that we give out typically. In Christmas time, we sometimes don't see we only see those clients at Christmas. We don't necessarily see them all year round, but they know that things are a little bit tighter around the holidays because we like to, sometimes our expenses are a little bit more. And in order to provide a Christmas experience for our families, that sometimes we need a little extra help. And so that's what we do, and that's what the thrift store does for us, is generate the funds to help that. And also our kettle campaign. So that's our other major fundraiser. So very, very soon.
What fundraiser is that?
So it's called the kettle campaign. So very soon we'll need volunteers, and we'll need all sorts of spaces, and you'll see people ringing a bell, which we call our volunteers at our kettles bell ringers typically. So you'll see them outside or inside different stores, and basically they're soliciting donations. So we're hoping that people will either drop in some cash or a check. And this year we've got a really cool machine that actually you can just use your debit or credit card or even your phone or your watch to tap a donation as well if you don't have cash. And so that is actually our only fundraiser that we really do. And that pretty much goes to fund the Christmas hamper program. And then anything left over goes back into our family services as well.
So earlier you said that you're getting funds here from thrift store. What projects you're doing with those funds?
With those funds, it goes towards the food bank, the monthly food bank. It helps fund our positions to keep the place running, because if we weren't here, then we wouldn't be able to help. And then we've also done programs like, what other programs have we done? We've done like kids cooking classes. We've done some workshops, financial workshops and like small things like that. We've done some nutrition-based workshops as well, learning how to cook. We're looking at expanding some of our program to things like potentially like a community kitchen, which brings people together to share and cook meals. And create community around them, and of course the Christmas hamper program as well.
What are your other goals? Like right now you're doing great. And then
So where do we see ourselves in the future as the organization? So we do have kind of a long-term goal. We really see a need to expand our family services side. So we've expanded our thrift store, which is helping us generate funds, but we really now need to put some of those funds really back into the community a little more tangibly. So we would love to expand the number of people that work in our family services in order to help more people. We'd like to provide more programming, such as those things that I had just mentioned before, on a more consistent basis, and even provide more programming that really helps people get out of the situations that they're in. So we really see people at their most vulnerable when they come for help, and a lot of times it's they're either in financial stresses, or maybe they're in a domestic situation that they need help with, and things like that. And we want to be able to provide programming that will fully support people to get to do better and reach their goals in their life. And whether that's, hey, I would love to get a better job. Okay, great. How do we do that? You need more education? Okay, let's find out what we need to do and how we can support you in doing that. That's kind of our biggest goal, is we want to provide that kind of care and support for our clients. It'll be a couple, we're thinking that's a 2, 3, 5-year plan eventually, but we really do feel that there's there isn't that offering in Neepawa, and that's definitely something that we can give to the community to create a better place for everybody to live, and to do better, and hopefully to eradicate poverty in the end. That's awesome.
Yeah. You can join Miss Universe. So kidding aside, like earlier we did the collectibles, right?
Yeah.
So how can you say that a certain piece is a collectible? Like, what are your inspirations?
What's the inspiration
Yeah.
behind that? So it takes, so antiques and collectibles takes a while to develop what I call an eye for it, if that makes sense. So you really have to kind of understand what looks old, or what might be old, or what might be collectible. For me, that started really young, going to auction sales with my dad, basically. So if you're, I don't know, have you ever gone to a live auction sale? No, so it's fun. You never know what you're gonna find at an auction sale. So yeah, as kids, we used to go to these auction sales, and usually farm auctions. So it would be anything from they're selling tractors to selling the things out of the house. And so my dad was very interested in kind of history and things that are old. We live in an old church manse back home, and so everything is just kind of that era, like early 1900s in the home, and so you kind of start building on those things of, oh, this is kind of cool, it looks old, what's the history behind it? And then you start looking about, oh, well, I wonder if it has any value, and so you do a little bit of internet research, and then you're like, oh, okay, that does have a little bit of value, isn't that interesting, and why does that have value? And I think you just kind of, and lots of people will just develop kind of a passion for it. My husband has definitely found a passion for it. I deal with it every day and don't have as much of a passion for it anymore, but you really do just need to be around different items and be curious enough to know what that is, and to maybe look it up and research it, and then decide, hey, yeah, no, that does have some value. I wonder why that is. Or and there's a whole kind of like carnival glass, for instance. So carnival glass was actually pieces of kind of junk glass, really, that you could win at a carnival. That's what it's called, carnival glass. So in the 20s and 30s, like all of those little games that we play at the fair, you throw the rings, or you throw the bottle tosses and all that kind of stuff, you could win this glassware. And it's really kind of a neat glassware. It's all different patterns, they're all different colors, and they have this iridescent shine to them. So they're very flashy. And I could see why people wanted to win them, because they're very pretty. However, it was mass produced, right? And most people didn't have any value for it and kind of threw it out, or it got chipped, or it got broken. Well, you only won it at the fair, so who cares? Nowadays, some of those priceless pieces can bring up to $400 or $500, depending on what they are. And it's just kind of really neat that something that you could have won at the fair in 1930 is now worth, $400, because somebody valued it enough and loved it enough to keep it safe along the way. And I just think that's how you kind of develop your eye for collectibles and antiques. And collectibles, honestly, can be anything. Like, there are people who love vintage and collectible clothing, like shoes, like sneakers. That is a whole other thing, which I have no reference point for. I don't have enough information to even know. Even like high-end purses and things like that. People just, if you develop a real passion for it, you're going to end up finding... you're going to know more about it, right? And then you're going to know what the value of it is. Some people are never going to know what that value is, and they think that, why would you price that price? Well, because to somebody else it does have value to it. So yeah, that's the vintage kind of collectible situation.
And last question.
Yeah.
What is your recommended collectible for this season?
Oh, my recommended collectible for the season.
Oh.
Okay, so there's one, and I haven't actually seen a set of these come in. So Christmas wise, and my mom and dad have these on their tree. They're called bubble lights, and they're like from the 50s, 40s, 50s, and they look like a little candle, and when they get hot enough, they actually bubble up, and they are the coolest thing. And it is, you know what, that is just one of those things. If you can find a set of those, and they're really hard to come by, that they still all work, that they haven't, like, don't break them because the liquid in them probably is poisonous, you know, those kinds of things. But they really, it is definitely an era gone by, but it just is something so neat and so interesting to put on your tree for Christmas time.
So yeah, I think that's it. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for allowing me to talk about myself, which was weird.